Okay, so first, on our final roundup of our typical chuds and what they have to say prior to the election today, Sargon of Chud, Carl Benjamin, failed UKIP candidate, milkshake connoisseur, fan of powdered drugs. Carl Benjamin has a video. He did a live stream yesterday on pre-election predictions. We're not going to watch this whole video because it's like an hour long, but I'm going to go ahead and watch some of this. We'll see where he's at mentally. This picture of Donald Trump is scary as shit, by the way. Mad fascist vibes. Like, if you want to show Kylo Ren is a fascist, you have him on stage with a bunch of Empire flags and one big one behind him, and he's center, and he's doing, like, a power thing. I think that's why Carl picked the picture. But anyway, let's see where this is at. Is Jake doing his own stream or only the thing with Jimmy? I am not sure. I actually got invited to do the thing with Jimmy. I opted not to, specifically because not dealing with election results in that way. I'm not doing it live on camera. That's going to be stressful for me. Potato Wraiths, thanks for following. Does he know he's live?
30 quid on me being like 30 minutes late. I expect it in super chats. How's it going, chat? F for Trump in the chat. Oh no, that's tragic, isn't it? That's tragic. How could it already be over for Trump, the incumbent president, who seems to have done a fairly good job by my estimation? As
This is the crux of so much of this conversation in this country and elsewhere. How do we deal with governing a country democratically when we live in alternate realities where all of us here, for instance, look at the things Trump has done and go, oh God, every day it's just a new disaster. And then there are people like Sargon who are like, oh, a bunch of kids, 500 kids who are never going to get to see their parents again? Fantastic. Oh, we're going to take away healthcare from a bunch of people? Oh, yes. More tax cuts for the rich? Yes, daddy. Like, what do you do in a situation where you're fighting against people like this, who just have their heads buried, I'll say in the sand to be polite, but I think it's buried somewhere else. It's just absurd. Mermanda with 150 bits. The Cognitive Dissonance guys are streaming tonight if people are looking for another stream option. Cool. Slow X Mox Panda with 20 bits. LOL, my message was up there. Slow X Mox Panda. Let me go see if you were Slow X Mox Panda says, I was at Ace and this guy had his phone so loud I heard his dad clearly screaming about how their whole house smelled like weed. I think because their neighbor grows it. Okay.
As an outsider looking in, yes, I know I'm live. Hello, everyone. Hello, chat. Love to see you. I don't know why, but I'm feeling pretty good about things. Like, I've got a terrible track record of predictions, by the way, for any elections at all.
Especially the one you were a candidate in.
But then, in my defense, so does everyone else. Like, point to the person who has a good track record of predictions these days. We're living in strange times, and everyone's hot takes age badly these days. So it's kind of fun, really, to be
A1 Golden Runner.
Suddenly
thanks for following.
Alleviated of the burden of having to actually be right about that, because everyone else has been alleviated. Like, it's lifted off their shoulders. Just, actually, they're all fucking wrong. None of them know. They've been so consistently wrong about everything. And the hopes and prayers of Hillary supporters everywhere had been dashed. The hopes and prayers, of the people who are forced to vote for Joe Biden, I think I'll put it. Like, is there such a thing as a Joe Biden supporter? Or
Yeah. I'd more consider myself on the side of, like, I just think Joe Biden... How do I put this? I think Joe Biden is a competent politician. I'll put it that way. And I think he provides a platform that is more stable to argue my positions from than under a Trump presidency. But there are definitely Joe Biden supporters, for sure. A lot of them are older people, but older people tend to be the people who vote anyway. So yes, there are Joe Biden supporters.
Or is it
if that's not a rhetorical question, but it feels like it was.
Who I guess Biden's family have compromat on, who may well have also visited Little St. James and have to get out and do the dirty work for him. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what it is? But anyway, yes. So everyone, my prediction is as follows. I mean, like, you look at the polls and you notice that today Biden is 8.3 up in the polls. And I've just got to say, I mean, for me, that just automatically means Trump landslide.
Why, though? Again, like, 2016 polling was off, but it wasn't off by that much in terms of state polling, especially at the end there. Things really got to tighten. Like, the idea that 2016 polling was an absolute disaster... It had problems, but it wasn't as bad as people said. A lot of it was in the margin of error. People just weren't taking that into account. Like, Biden is up by more in the polls than Hillary ever was, and this is after them adjusting their polling for what happened in 2016. They were undercounting, or undersampling, rather, non-college educated white people in 2016, and they've corrected for that in 2020. At least most of them have. Again, polling isn't perfect. I'm not saying it's impossible. A lot of swing states are within the margin of error. It's entirely possible Trump will win. But the idea of this, like, Trump super landslide that some of these people have is just so bizarre. I do not know where they're getting this. Trump may win. Trump may win. That's an unfortunate reality that's going to happen in any Democratic election where there are two options. One of them is going to win. It could be either one. It's going to depend upon who shows up to vote. But, like, in the statistical models that people whose job it is to do these things, people like Nate Silver over at 538, if Trump wins, it'll be a situation like 2016 where he probably loses the popular vote, and on top of that, only wins by like 70,000 votes spread across, you know, however many swing states. Like, Trump may win. Trump may win. It's scary, but it's true. But if he does, it will not be a landslide. Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits. Why is Greenland on that electoral map? I honestly do not know. Probably because it's a joke map. It's probably just there as a joke. Did I miss something? The map has Greenland on it? Yes, it does. It's a meme map. It's okay to put silly things like that on a meme map. Was there anything else I missed? I don't think so.
State, including those states that are not actually states like Greenland, will indeed vote for Trump. It's going to be a complete wash for Trump. It's going to be the victory that Jeb Bush could only have dreamed of. He's going to flip everything red. So you can take that to the bank. That's a serious prediction of how I think things will go.
Didn't Trump want to conquer Greenland? He wanted to purchase Greenland, I think. He didn't want to conquer it with, like, the military. He wanted to buy it.
But what's interesting is everyone on Twitter is getting their little, oh, here's my prediction map. Here's my prediction map. And it's like, okay. Like, if we're all going to get our little prediction maps. But seriously, though, I do think that Trump is going to win by a greater margin than last time.
Why? Why would you think that? Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. The only all-red map I could find had Greenland, so I'll make a joke about it, I guess. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have cut it out. All he'd have to do was crop the image. It wouldn't have even been difficult. I'm sure he did that on purpose. There were a lot of factors in 2016 that led to Trump winning. A major one was that a lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton. A lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton for a number of reasons, some of them legitimate, some of them not. Joe Biden doesn't have the same sort of yoke around his neck that Hillary Clinton has, that yoke being 20-something years of constant coverage from places like Fox News about how she's like a demon woman. Joe Biden, while he's not popular amongst younger people and lefties like ourselves, doesn't mean that the general population, and bear in mind, a lot of the general population are centrists who just want to grill. They like Joe Biden. They do. Or at the very least, they don't hate him like they hated Hillary. So in this election, when it's between Donald Trump, who we now have a voting record for, or not a voting record, but, you know, a record of his, let's say, accomplishments, or lack thereof, over the last 4 years, which wasn't something that was in hand in 2016. In 2016, these people could have said to themselves, oh, well, I don't know, we don't have any idea how, let's give him a shot and see how it works. And now here we are, 4 years later. It's not good. So I think that'll affect some independent voters and stuff, who will swing towards Biden because Biden is, to most people, an inoffensive, middle-of-the-road centrist. I don't agree, like, that he's a good candidate, but I understand the idea that he's a safe candidate as compared to Trump. Corona virus deaths in U.S. I'm curious what they're at now. 232,000 USA. USA. That's also affecting, I would think, a certain amount of independents and older voters, the whole coronavirus debacle. Dude spanking dudes with 20 bits. I bet money that Reps anti-SJW's Sargon Extra is going to have a verbal meltdown. The right likes to say that only the left will cry and act out if Trump wins. I bet that the right are hypocrites and will act out. We'll see. I hope not. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Twist, both Joe Biden and Donald get 0 electoral votes. All 538 go to Jeb Bush. He can still win this. Slow X Mox Panda with 50 bits. I already pay to not see ads on YouTube. What's it take to not waste watch time on full commercials here? I think subscriptions. Do subscriptions get rid of ads, guys? If they do, then that's the thing. You subscribe to channels, and I think you don't get ads anymore. Oh, God, my under-boob sweat is just killing me today. I'm going to get, like, a stain right here. Okay. Can just call you Panda. That's easier. Thank you. Captain Seculoid, thank you for gifting a sub. Oh, to Panda. Nice. Well, there you go. Your ad problem is solved.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
And I hope that, I'm not saying he will, but it would be very good if he won the popular vote. It would be extremely good from the perspective of let's stop communism, to have Joe Biden.
Why? Why do these people look at Joe Malarkey Corn Pop Biden and go, that guy's a communist, that dirty commie, that dirty pro-corporation capitalist commie? I hate him. Like, which is it, guys? What is he? Empty the tanks with 20 bits in Australia. We recently had a short run of 0 new COVID cases and 0 deaths. That's pretty rad. Rakison Dragon, thank you for following. Malarxism. Yes. Yes, please.
Destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And I just want to be clear. I think Joe Biden is a terrible candidate. I'm really surprised that he's the guy that the Democratic Party settled on in the end. I do think they would have done better with almost anyone else. Because, like, Biden, I don't know whether it's just me, but he really comes across as being very unlikable.
Look, Joe Biden's many things, and I don't agree with, like, some of his record, and I wish he was further left, but I don't think Biden's unlikable as a person. If we're talking strictly about, like, candidate charisma, I don't think Biden comes off as unlikable. I think he comes off like an old man, and not like a mean old man. He comes off like an old man who's kind of out of touch, but nonetheless, he seems like an old man who's legitimately trying to do his best. And again, this isn't going into policy. We're talking about likability here, and that's a completely separate metric. I think Joe Biden is completely likable as a politician. Captain Seculoid with 95 bits. As an anarcho-Bidenist, I am offended by Sargon's suggestion that my lord is a dirty commie. For those who still doubt, here's a list of companies who give money to Joe Biden. Yes, we know that political candidates get money from tons of people. It would be nice to get them out, I understand. That's something we can fight for with Joe Biden as the president, okay? We'll be in a better place to do so than with Trump as president.
That's the thing, right? I don't really personally hate any of the American politicians because they don't rule over me. They don't make decisions governing my life, at least not directly. And so I don't, I get to watch it as if it's a movie, right? And so I get to choose the characters I like.
Anyone who talks about politics like this is an idiot, and you shouldn't listen to them. It's not a game. It's not a movie. These are people's lives. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. His approach to his son was very good and earned him a ton of brownie points to me. It seemed legitimate, yeah.
And Joe Biden, to me, comes across as just being very unlikable. He's very abrasive. And he...
Did Sargon just call Biden abrasive while advocating for Donald J. Trump? Again, the separate realities thing strikes again.
Feels like he's someone who has been a member of the upper class for a long time.
Again, but Donald Trump, who's much richer than Biden has ever been, somehow isn't that. What? Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Joe Biden is that grandpa that tells you tales of his episode in the jungles of Nam, but forgets that kids are all staring at their phones the whole time. And MMO Addicted. If Biden is abrasive, Trump is a living cheese grater.
Because he has. And he seems like the very last tail end of a kind of politician that I think we can call the sort of 20th century politician, the plastic corporate politician who in the sort of mid to late 20th century became the fad. People expected just a shiny face who would say politically correct things and be polite under all circumstances.
Wanting politicians to be competent and polite is not a vestige of the mid to late 20th century, Sargon. That's a thing that you just want in politicians in general. Like, again, everything else being equal or separate, if you're talking about politicians that are going to be interacting with not only citizens of the country that they have power over, but also especially someone like the president, who's a big part of international relations, you want someone who's like someone you can get along with, someone that's like amenable to having agreements and conversations with other people in a polite, respectful way. These are benefits to the president, not negatives. Guardian Den with 50 bits. So was there a conclusion to the whole Hunter Biden thing? I've been kind of out of the loop about that. Not really. They really kept trying to hammer it, but no one was buying that shit except for people who are already like huge Tucker Carlson fans. So it didn't end up gaining traction in the mainstream.
No longer was Winston Churchill calling his opponents' wives ugly and things like this. You know, no, the harsh language disappeared as mass media made every statement something that could be heard a million times over. And now I think with Trump, we're getting to the kind of politics where it's like, you know what? Don't even care. Cry more, loser, I guess, if you don't like.
That's not good, Sargon. Any politician behaving that way is childish and backward, and it's a bad way to run a state in the 21st century when international relations are more important than they've ever been. The world is getting smaller day by day. You cannot have a president who's like, haha, suck it, libs. Haha, countries I don't like, you can suck my dong. Like, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Also, my window's open. I just realized I just yelled suck my dong with my windows open. My point is, having a politician who is charismatic, or at the very least, not someone who tries to trigger other people around them constantly with their abrasive, mean, bullying attitude is not a negative. Someone being unlike Donald Trump is a positive in terms of being a statesman.
Like it, because there's no charity given on either side. And I think Joe Biden is the last of those people. And I think that Biden is a fundamentally dishonest.
Have I seen English Parliament? I've seen clips, yeah. But that's, again, I even feel like if we're talking about, like, Congress people in the United States, a certain level of realness in the sense that they're not going to be as, let's say, political. And when I say political, I mean pragmatic, right? If you have a congressperson who in Congress to other Congress people are like, hey, no, your position's wrong. Sit down, F you. I kind of wish things would be a little more cordial than that, but I understand. That's fine. The president or like the Secretary of State, anyone that's going to be dealing with foreign dignitaries, that can't fly. Because you're not dealing with people in your own country that you can disagree with and have an argument about. Here's how I would explain it. Politicians within their own country, I would compare more to siblings. You can get a little more mean, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're all part of the same country. You can kind of understand that and argue issues in a heated way. But when we're talking about, like, international politics, the president, the Secretary of State, people who are going to go talk to other foreign dignitaries, that's not a sibling relationship. That's like some other kid down the street that you need to deal with, right? Like, you might be really mean to your brother and wrestle them or something and pick on them, but you don't necessarily want to do that to the same extent to the kid down the street that you're trying to get along with. You know what I mean?
Honest person. He's got a long career's worth of dishonesty. We'll talk about Trump in a bit. But Joe Biden, in my opinion, has a long career of being a fucking liar. An outright fucking liar.
Again, while advocating for Donald Trump, this is what Sargon says. Mind-boggling.
And the kind of liar who will lie so brazenly to your face and demand that you agree it's the truth, or they'll get angry with you. Which is actually not that usual for people. If you start just brazenly lying to someone, they will eventually get angry, but a reasonable person will be like, just, why are you doing this?
Yes! Yes, Sargon, which is why so many people are fed up with Donald Trump. Do you understand?
But Biden just leaps straight to that anger, and that, for me, I find that very... I mean, maybe it's just because he gets people accusing him of being a liar a lot or something, but the most recent campaign, like his campaign, if you can even call it that, some of the clips, like when the guy in the factory confronts him and says, look, you're going to take away people's Second Amendment rights. And he's like, you're a liar. I never said that. And he's getting really hostile with the guy. And yet today, Biden tweeted out how he's going to enact gun control.
Enacting gun control measures is not taking away people's Second Amendment rights. That's incredibly disingenuous, Sargon. People have a Second Amendment right to bear arms. What those arms are, and again, isn't specified. It's in order to maintain a, quote, well-regulated militia. Well-regulated being an important word in that sentence. In this country, we already have laws involving what kinds of weapons and accessories for your weapons you can have. Moving the line of what is acceptable in terms of weapon ownership does not remove someone's Second Amendment right. It just doesn't. Like removing bump stocks. Remember, Donald Trump is the person who signed, banning bump stocks into law. Donald Trump! That doesn't mean he took away people's Second Amendment rights. It means they redefined what is considered reasonable in terms of a well-regulated militia. That's completely within the powers of the government. Okay? This has been covered to death. Guardian Den, thank you with 50 bits. Do you think that most Trump supporters actually support him, or do you think at this point they just do? They just don't want to admit they're wrong. Also, you can just call me Eden if it's easier. Sure. I think most of them think they're right. I think people, the kind of people, at least in my experience, this is completely anecdotal, so take that as it is. My dad, for instance, again, who I haven't talked to in quite a while, but I know the kind of person he is, and I remember our conversations in 2016 about this and prior about Donald Trump. The kind of people who are hardcore Trump supporters tend to be narcissists, tend to be people with very little self-reflective abilities. They don't look at themselves and say, am I wrong about this thing? Ever. It's just not something that crosses their mind. Once they make a decision or form an opinion on something, that's their opinion. And even if it's wrong, they're going to defend it because they feel like admitting that they did something wrong or admitting that the opinion they formed was misinformed. They feel that it's a weakness to admit that, even though it's not. It's a strength as a human being to be able to own up to your mistakes or own up to your shortcomings and your ability to form opinions on things. That's reasonable. But a lot of people, like my dad, are not that kind of person. They're the kind of people who just, nope, made my decision, and if evidence comes out that shows that I'm wrong, well, I'm just going to fight against it even harder, because that would be admitting I was wrong, and that makes me weak, even though it doesn't. Panda with 25 bits, as opposed to Trump's nonstop D-sucking, ego-stroking rallies for literally 5 straight years. Yeah.
Which obviously is going to be a synonym or a metaphor for...
Was the last time I talked to him when he showed up during that live stream once? Yeah, I think so.
Him, just like semi-automatic weapons, which is almost everything. Yeah, almost every modern gun is a semi-automatic gun. So it's like, right, okay, shut up, you gun grabber. Like, you know, where's my mag at? You know, like, I don't have guns, but damn, do I support your right to be able to own them? And fuck the government.
Panda with 50 bits, my dad was visiting from VA and had a speaker call with his brother about getting as many new guns as they can before Biden makes it all impossible. They're so stupid.
Unironically, as we're about to go into a second lockdown. The thing about Biden is that he lies about everything. About
one of the first things Donald Trump did as president was he lied about his inauguration size. Guys, Donald Trump lies constantly.
The kind of man he wants to be, and he's always projected this, as far as I can tell. Going back to, what was the British politician? Why, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Chat, you can save me on this in about 30 seconds, but until then I'm going to move on. He was stealing it wasn't Tony Benn, was it? I think it was Tony Benn's speeches. Tony Benn, being a British Labour politician that Joe Biden obviously wanted to emulate, stole his speech almost word for word.
The example of this, by the way, that he's bringing up, this happened in the 90s? The late 90s, I think this happened. So the latest example of a Joe Biden lie that he can give is a speech that happened over 20 years ago, and also the same thing happened to Melania. I agree that at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. Like, if you're hiring someone to write a speech for you, then it's your due diligence to make sure that they're not plagiarizing something. Completely understand that, and that is on Biden, just as it was on Melania, when Melania had a speechwriter write her a speech, and it was just like a complete rip of Michelle Obama's speech. But if your example of Biden lying is him failing to do due diligence on a person who wrote him a speech, that's incredibly weak relative to the lies that I could point out that Donald Trump has said. That kind of shows your hand and your inability to point to a systematic lying problem from Joe Biden. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. These people think Joe Biden, a Democrat further right than Barack Obama, an already center-right guy, will take the guns. It's dumb. Yes, it is dumb. It's very, very stupid.
I'm making up a new backstory for himself because that's what the speech demanded and things like that. It's just not true. And, you know, he claims that he was the highest in his class or something like that. And in fact, he was one of the lowest. And you get this continual picture built up of Joe Biden as a totally mediocre man, but someone who is just willing to
lifetime senator. How mediocre. You know, we all have that loser cousin who's been in the Senate for decades. Why can't they get their shit together?
Lie convincingly. Most people have tells when they lie, but Joe Biden just lies like he's telling the truth. And they're such brazen lies. They're such, they're not exaggerations like Trump.
Oh, Sargon.
There's nothing funny
your reality distortion field is showing. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Show me one person who's never embellished some aspect of their life, and I'll show you a liar.
These are just outright, and it just feels malevolent. You know, I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like this guy is taking me for a fucking ride. And then when you see, of course, you know, the Hunter Biden revelations, who the big guy is taking 10% for, and all of these other connections to Chinese spy chiefs and all of this stuff. There's huge, just a trove of stuff that's come out. The media refuses to touch because
because it's not evidenced, Sargon. The reason that even Fox effing News, after like the first day, stopped covering this because of the lack of information, and they would have gotten rightfully sued for slander had they run this story and continued to run it. There is no backing evidence about any of this Hunter Biden BS, and I am so sick and tired of it. I'm glad that we're gonna stop hearing about this shit after today. My god. Tinker Taylor, 84 with 20 bits. I think Carl's just confused about which candidate is which. Yeah, that must be it. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I actually have an uncle like that. He's in ruling Law and Justice Party and has been since its forming. He's not invited to family functions. I can't even recall his name. And then Cascadia 93. You guys had this guy on your show. You have interacted with this man. You made money off a video together. Oh yeah. It's super gross. It's super duper gross. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Hell, all that Hunter Biden stuff was, well, stuff we already knew about the man, yeah. The big revelations from the Hunter Biden thing was, he's a drug addict, which we've known about. It got brought up in the debate. Someone being a drug addict is not a ding on their character, it's a health issue. And also that maybe he, indulged in some solicitation of sex workers, let's say, which I also don't find to be some sort of moral wrongdoing.
There's nothing funny about the
so I don't really care about that shit. MMO Addicted with 20 bits. I mean, only benefit of him is that when they started putting the gays in concentration camps, he might give me a pass to run out of the country. God, my sense of humor is bleak. Jesus Christ, it is. No kidding. Jesus.
My God,
it'd
be demolishing for anyone's career. But the thing that I find most interesting
you'd
is
bet your house on Reagan doing speed in the 50s, and then Captain Seculoid, the laptop is the new butter emails. Yeah, it's just more emails. They really tried the same thing twice in a row. Didn't work. Pretty luckily.
To Biden as a person is, I'm more disgusted at Joe Biden's incapable. Just inability to be a father. Now, I might be being harsh.
Inability to be a father. Did you know if your kid tragically succumbs to drug addiction that you were a failure as a parent and there are absolutely no other factors that go into that? Jesus, Sargon.
Harsh here, right? I might be being harsh because they have suffered.
Is it your parents' fault that you destroyed a political party, Sargon? Just trying to track what is and is not a parent's responsibility.
Some severe family trauma through.
Windchanter with 20 bits. Did you see where the church is now trying to walk back the Pope's commentary on civil unions? I'm sure they are. Like it's the Catholic Church, guys. They're not your friends.
Loss of a brother and his mum, I think it was. So I might be, you know, speaking from a position of distinct privilege in this regard.
No, you don't say.
But man, if like my son was some incestuous crack addict.
They're still going with the incest thing, huh? Cool.
Then I would be doing something about it. Like, I would feel like I had failed as a father.
There's nothing funny about the tools
But then,
of
I suppose,
capitalism.
if I was world-renowned for being a giant liar,
Dude spanking dudes with 20 bits. I love when my parents say it's okay, it will affect other people, but we're the ones who are financially stable. Like, I guess F everyone else. Also that Trump can't take away trans Medicare.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Even if those you are... Oh, God, sorry, the stream keeps moving, so it's hard to read. Trump can't take away trans Medicare, even if he does, you are okay. You're under our insurance. Like, yeah, F poor people. The inability of some people to care about others is disgusting. It is such a problem. Cascadia 93. Is it your parents' fault that you single-handedly ruined JonTron's credibility, Carl? That's a shame, too. I used to really like JonTron videos. He's a funny guy. It's too bad he fell down the alt-right talking points hole.
Feel like I'd failed as a politician. But then he got elected. He gets elected repeatedly. He's been in office for 47 years or something stupid like that. Now he's running for the presidency. What do I know? Don't listen to me on any of this, folks. But anyway, right, so it comes Trump. And Trump, I think Steve Bannon really did sum Trump up best with the signal and the noise. There is a clear signal that's going through everything that Trump has been saying.
Wait, is Carl citing indicted conspirator Steve Bannon? That's a good call.
And a strong message has been coming out that was something that Trump was ridiculed for initially, but he had really hit upon what I think is a zeitgeist that has been permeating the Western world for quite some time. There's a spectre haunting not just Europe, but the West.
He's going to say it's communism, but the actual thing is income inequality being caused by late-stage capitalism, but he's going to say it's communism. Get ready. I think he's going to say it's communism. He's going to say the specter of communism has reared its ugly head again. Panda with 50 bits. No, I'm literally the only one in my entire family with empathy. Explains why I have way too much of it. Yeah, you must have just gotten it all. Captain Seculoid with 95 bits. At least JonTron did a racism after he got replaced by our sweet, innocent boy, Dan Avedon. I don't know who that is.
The specter of patriotism.
He means nationalism. He means nationalism.
On everyone's lips. It's being discussed in every coffee house and inn and tavern. It's one of those things that the powers that be do not wish to acknowledge. Trump actually, again, his campaign has been fantastic, by the way. He's been absolutely smashing it in his campaign. Like, he looks great. The whole thing looks brilliant, and
he looks great. That's a weird slip. I don't know.
The crowds have been phenomenal. It looks like he is a rock star on tour. It does.
Yeah, he's got a huge cult of personality. That's part of his problem. Tinker Tailor 84 with 20 bits. He just misquoted the Communist Manifesto. He's going to socialist hell for that. Tucker White 94, citation needed, Carl. Citation effing needed.
Does not look like Joe Biden is even... I mean, who is his opposition? Like, if the polls didn't tell me, if these didn't exist, and you...
But they do exist, Carl. They do exist.
Saw Joe Biden's campaign, which I didn't even think to get something up of, but Trump tweeted out a video of him arriving like by helicopter to this massive rally, and Joe Biden walking down these steps into a socially distanced.
Yes, again, the rally difference thing is so bizarre to me, because for one thing, 99% of people who vote don't go to a single political rally ever. It's not indicative of the general voting population. And secondly, the Trump campaign isn't taking coronavirus seriously at all. It's why Trump got coronavirus. It's why tons of White House staffers have gotten it. And it's why tons of people at these rallies are causing super spreader events by going to these things. Whereas Joe Biden's campaign is doing minimal rallies that are socially distanced with masks with minimal people. Like, all you're doing by pointing this out is showcasing the irresponsibility of Trump as the president and showing candidate Biden as being responsible in the face of a public health crisis. It doesn't make Trump look good. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Translation: if this contradictory information didn't exist, then my worldview, as sturdy as a Jenga tower, would hold up. Yeah.
Garden.
If only this statistical data didn't exist, my conservative worldview could be founded in my anecdotes. Dang statisticians.
Party with like 12 people.
We're almost done with this video, by the way. We've been going on about him for a while.
In it, and if I should find that really, because it was so good. The difference was just night and day, and it really showed you who. And I did in fact see the other day as well. See donations, donation graphs, like, you know, the wealthiest and the poorest, and Trump had much more support from regular folk, and it shows, doesn't it? You know, this is what we see. It's like this is a guy. you can say what you like about Trump, but at least he is someone who is in touch with the regular American. Which
No, he's not. What is wrong with these people that they think this multi-billionaire who's been rich every single day of his life, literally, not a single moment of his existence from conception, has involved any sort of struggle
There's nothing funny about
for
the tools of
financial
capitalism.
solvency, ever. He was born rich, he will die rich. This is not a man who understands the problems of anyone but himself. He just isn't. He just riles up a bunch of uneducated white people by screaming about, oh, the immigrants are gonna steal your gerbs, like it's 2004 and we're in an episode of fucking South Park. Like, Donald Trump knows how to speak to dumb people because he himself is very dumb. That's the key to his success. He's an angry, racist idiot with no filter, and unfortunately, there's a huge piece of the population in the United States who views these things not as detriments, but as something to look up to and aspire to. It's disgusting. Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom of the problem, and that problem is a lack of education and empathy within the citizens of the United States. It's a huge problem. And I don't know what we're going to do. Even if Joe Biden wins today, he might not. Those people are still going to be here. And someday they might get behind someone who isn't as stupid as Donald Trump. Someone who's just as fashy. Someone who's able to draw crowds and get support, but someone who knows what they're doing. And that's going to be a scarier day than any of the days we've had in the last 4 years.
is something I really don't think you can say for Joe Biden. I'm just looking for this video because it was...
Tucker White 94, pro tip class, anecdotal evidence is not, and I repeat, not actual evidence. You can use anecdotal evidence as what it is. It's an anecdote. It doesn't make it statistical evidence. Oh, read that one. Cool.
It was iconic. It was a great video. And so Trump does talk a lot of shit, obviously. I don't want to, have people going, oh, see, he'll never say that Trump, Trump says things that are wrong or inaccurate a lot. But I don't think that Trump is lying. I don't think that Trump is genuinely lying, as in he knows that the truth is something else and is just prepared to try and bullshit me through it. I think that Trump is as guilty, if not more guilty, of the effect that we all have, which is sort of remembering things to our own advantage.
Trump isn't lying to me because he lies to himself first. So if he lies to himself about something and then says that to me, it's no longer lying.
But Trump, obviously, this is exacerbated, and he. But the fundamental, what he's saying, there is a kernel of truth to it, right? He'll say, I can't think of a good example, but he'll say something, and it will be in some way true. He'll have just, got the details wrong or widened the scope of it or something like this, where the evidence...
Tucker White 94, but Hannah, it's not a lie if you believe it. Well, I don't believe that that's the case. So, how does that work? Antipodians good with 20 bits. It's easier to empower people than disempower them. Trump has made people feel empowered to spread and incite hatred. It's going to be much harder to push that back down once he's gone. Taking away Trump as the figurehead is the first step to solving one of many issues. Yeah. Jeffrey Patron, he'll say something shocking.
It doesn't necessarily represent exactly that position. However, if you just narrowed the scope of what he was saying, then the New York Times would have to say, yes, this is true.
Guys, don't you think it's very, very reasonable to editorialize every single thing the president says because he's too stupid to say what he means and mean what he says? Wait a minute, I thought Trump supporters liked Trump because he says it like it is. Now he's exaggerating? Now he's making stuff up? And it needs to be editorialized? Those seem like conflicting statements. Weird. Alright, we're done with Sargon. We basically know where he sits. He thinks Trump's going to win in a landslide. That's what he thinks. I think that's foolish. Not that Trump can't win, but the idea that he'll win in a landslide. Not really any evidence for it as of right now.